We love to see that everyone is excited for today. So can we just get a little bit more excitement in the chat? Hey. All right. Thank you all for submitting your questions for today through our social media. Those that were chosen will be asked later today, followed by a live answer from our special guest.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate your presence, and always remember we are a resource for any student. We hope our events can provide you with a sense of community, comfort, and entertainment.
We'd also like to remind you of ASPB's Quarter for a Cause, also known as Q4C. In 2011, ASPB created an initiative where we focus on specific causes that we base our programming off of. This quarter, ASPB's Q4C is Career and Professional Development. We appreciate everyone being here with us today. But before we get this going, we'd love to welcome our amazing moderator, Adam Ryan Daniels.
Adam Ryan Daniels is the creator and host of a popular entertainment YouTube channel. It's called I Am Your Target Demographic, where he helps new fans to dive into topics such as comic books, movies, video games, and more. He's especially known for his series, Heroes Like Us, focusing on representation in comic books and highlighting characters from all different identities and backgrounds. He's also a staff member here at UC Riverside, coordinating clubs and organizations in the Department of Student Life. And here's Adam Ryan Daniels.
All right, so I am beyond excited to be here tonight, or today, to be here to do a lecture at 2 p.m, but I am excited. I hope you're excited too, so I'm not gonna waste too much of your time. So now it's time to introduce the amazing actor fresh off the success of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Here with us today is the incredible Sebastian Stan. You nailed it.
Just my Zoom face.
That's good. How are you?
This hat. I'm all right. I'm doing okay. I'm just trying to pretend these are real.
Is that for Tommy Lee? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just what it is. It's part of my life currently. Yeah. So not much around it.
Yeah, I get you.
Going over there, you got quite a collection behind you.
Yeah. This is
even got the old Green Lantern up there.
Yep. I am comic book agnostic, DC and Marvel both. It's okay to like both.
100%. I actually got very close to that part a long time ago.
Well,
but I lucked
maybe
out.
It'll come up again.
I don't know about that. They're not calling me for the Green
Lantern. So we've got about half an hour. I've got some questions I'm going to ask you, and then we're going to do some audience Q&A, questions they've asked. So we are going to go all the way back. So tell us about maybe, how did you get started in acting? Where did this inspiration come from? How did your journey begin?
I mean, I don't know. I was very lucky because, I had my mom who was always very supportive when I was really young, and I guess she just encouraged me to keep going down that path. And I found this camp, Stage Door Manor, when I was 15, and I went there, and it was a really great camp, and there was a lot of opportunities there to sort of study acting and singing and different things. And I met my manager there when I was 15, and then I sort of kind of one thing led to the next, and just sort of ended up going this far. I don't know. I always said to myself that I would go and try it out, and then apply to college, and see if I can study acting in college. And then I got into Rutgers, and that worked out. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll go to New York for a couple of years and just see what happens. And then I did that, and then it just kind of kept going, fortunately.
Mm-hmm. Is there a moment that you remember thinking that this was like your big break, this was it, like it's finally happening? Was there a role that kind of caught you that way?
No, there are different things, that highlights, along the way that kind of made me feel like things were happening. But there would be one year where suddenly I would do really well or something, and then And then the following year, suddenly I couldn't book any job, and I'd be without anything. But obviously the Marvel world has incrementally changed my life, but even when that role happened in 2010, it wasn't right away something that I was kind of thinking was gonna, I guess, help me out in the sense that it did. It still took a couple years to kind of get going. So, but yeah, I suppose 2010 was a big year. Obviously, that was when we did the first Captain America movie. Before that, in 2008, I mean, Gossip Girl. It was it's on HBO Max. Was a very important piece of my life because I was living in New York and it was like the first time I was like in love and like my best friend was on it. Like there was a lot of pieces to that show where I felt like I grew up a lot. But so anyway, there are different things along the way that helped out.
Yeah, so there's probably a lot of people that are, want to maybe get into show business. What would you say was maybe one of the hardest things at the beginning that maybe almost even maybe deterred you from going into acting? Like, what are some of those hard things that people should expect to maybe struggle with?
I guess the sense of rejection, which I feel like people now encounter in all kinds of different ways, not even just acting, but yeah, there's always going to be somebody who's going to tell you no, who's going to say you're making a mistake, this is a terrible idea, you're not good enough, you shouldn't even be. I mean, people are always going to try and compare, cause you to compare yourself to different people or different levels of success or whatever. And, I always think that at the end of the day, it's like we really, there has to be some element of enjoying what it is that you're doing with, that what do you, like if you're studying something, you're putting in all this time and it should go towards, if you're, it should go towards something that sustains you, I guess. I know a lot of people don't have those opportunities sometimes, and that's sort of heartbreaking on a different level. But I always feel like if you are going to school, it should be it should be it should be after something that you really like, that you really want to do. Because if you're going to be torn about it, I think it's going to be harder. And those negative voices and those negative, envious people along the way are going to start chipping away at it,
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of students changing their majors after this lecture.
Oh God. Don't listen to me too much about that.
So now, you're a household name, but I'm curious, do you still get starstruck by other celebrities? Like, is there someone that if you saw on a red carpet somewhere, you'd be like, oh my God?
Totally. Like, I'll tell you right now, Larry David, Charles Barkley, who else? I think maybe Bruce Springsteen. Like, there are definitely people that
you kind of lose your cool with.
Yeah, I would be so like kind of thrown back by. I don't think that ever changes really, Yeah.
Is there someone that's still on your list that you want to work with? Another actor or actress that you're kind of hoping for, a part in one of their projects?
Absolutely. I mean, I always wanted to work with like David O. Russell, for example, or now like Chloe Zhao, who actually happens to be a very big Bucky Barnes fan. And I was like, perfect. Like, what can we do? Put me in the Eternals. I mean, there's just so many. Who else? I really always liked Spike Jonze, Wes Anderson's. I mean, there's just so many directors I feel like out there that are doing things that I would love to get an opportunity, but sometimes it's difficult to get on their radar.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of some of the parts you've played, you play a lot of fictional characters, but then you also have played plenty of real life people. So like preparing for Tommy Lee, which do you think is more difficult for you as an actor to kind of wrap your head around?
Well, it's all kind of, they're difficult in different ways, because I mean, I think when you're creating a fictional character, you know, sometimes you get to create the whole backstory of somebody, so you get to kind of decide how they grew up, or what the environment was, or where they're from. But I feel like if you're playing somebody who already exists, then you have like no choice but to kind of try to fit into this box. And you know, it's like, it's not always easy to figure out how to get into that box, because sort of like the whole story is written out, but you know, you're still kind of having to find your way into it in a way, and sometimes that can add its own pressure and stuff. But it's all interesting from the perspective of just understanding people, you know, period, fictional or not, you know. Like you're looking at it kind of like studying like how does somebody end up the way that they are, you know. And again, you can only make certain kind of you know, you can only make a certain amount of kind of decisions on that. But it's part of like I guess like what draws me to it is I'm very curious sometimes about people and why they do the things that they do, and kind of piecing things back, you know.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to do another time jump to 10 years ago. You just get the call that you've gotten the part of Bucky Barnes. Mm-hmm. What was your immediate reaction to that?
You know, like, wow, amazing. Like, you know, I hadn't even read a script. I didn't even know how like big the character was. You know, I mean, I knew sort of, they had explained to me a little bit about like where they were thinking of going with the character if, knock on wood, a certain amount of things were to have happened a certain way, but none of it felt very secure. It wasn't like, you know, I could have ever in that moment kind of predicted that I would be working there for like 10 years.
Yeah, the MCU was at a very different place.
Sorry?
The MCU was at a very different place when you got that call.
Oh yeah, it was at a place where it was still very new. You know, like all you had was the Iron Man, right, movie. I think came out. I want to say maybe Thor came out, but it was very early and still and very hopeful, which it still is today. You know, in a way, it hasn't changed that kind of like. Sort of like, it's like not a jaded place at all. Like, you know, it's a very hopeful kind of attitude, sort of excited, always approaching every project with sort of, you know, no expectations, just completely trying to discover it all over again. And that's, you know, it's amazing for a company that hasn't changed in 10 years when they've had the successes that they've had, you know.
So now, fast forward 10 years, you get a spin-off series with the Falcon. People love it. I'll try to stay spoiler light, because there are still people, for some reason, that haven't seen it. Okay. So when you get the call that they now want to do a spin-off focused on, you know, the Winter Soldier and unpacking some of that history that the character has, I mean, going into television and doing something new in the MCU, what was that like? Is this something exciting? Did this make you nervous?
No, I was really excited, because I do love really working with Anthony, and we have a lot of fun, and just to have that chance, you know, we never really got like, I felt like our characters, I mean, his even more than my character, right? Like, we've gone into my backstory, but we hadn't really gone into the Falcon backstory at all, you know. And just to be able to have 6 hours to sort of kind of go on this journey together and not feel like, you know, you're having to sometimes pack in so much information and so on in smaller scenes with the 2.5-hour movie was amazing. I mean, essentially we filmed like a 6-hour movie. That's how it felt. And it was cool. It was very collaborative, and we were allowed to improvise and kind of make it our own. And I think they were really trusting us a lot with sort of bringing the humor to it, because we were trying to figure out how, particularly with Bucky Barnes, like what makes him funny. I mean, like, there's nothing really funny about him other than he's just like this bitter old man. You know, like he's like a cranky guy, I guess. That's what he became, you know, and that was very fun to play. And then, you know, obviously Anthony can riff off of that. And
yeah, I think it's fitting that this month is Mental Health Awareness Month. And I think a lot of your character's arc is, you know, seeing different sides of Bucky that aren't action-oriented always, right? It is probably more character development than you've really gotten to do before this point. Was that something that excited you about this project?
Well, yeah, because I love, you know, I loved having the opportunity to like dive deeper into kind of like just the realistic implications of what, you know, this character had gone through, right, and what it actually would have caused for him mentally. You know, the PTSD aspect of it, the anxiety part of it, the sort of search for identity, embracing the past, making amends. You know, I think that there were just very real themes that I was getting to do in a comic book movie, you know, and again, I think that's one thing that I loved about Kevin, that Feige, who's, you know, always wanted to kind of really stress out that even though these guys are superheroes, they sort of do, there's a fallback from everything that they encounter. And particularly with this character, I felt like, you know, we finally had a chance to kind of delve deeper into it and do him justice that way. And also just in the hopes of just moving him forward, you know, so that he can continue to, because now he's in a different place, at least, you know, than he was before. And you can kind of see how there's perhaps maybe other opportunities there, you know.
So are you alluding to maybe a second season on the way? Is that something you hope for?
No. I mean, I just, even if this is a wrap, which it very well could be, like, then at least, you know, he's kind of come around and finding himself again. You know?
Yeah, I think we're all hoping for a second season. I know I'd love to see the White Wolf return to Wakanda and what that might look like, and finally get some more peace of mind.
You know, I have told everybody that will listen to me, I said, I am ready whenever you guys want. But there's just so many pieces to the thing. I'm actually quite happy. I'm not in decision making behind these massive projects and stories, and, you know, making sure it's all kind of connected and years down the line. Like, I just don't know how Kevin does it, you know.
If you were put in a position where you could potentially pitch an idea that you want to see Bucky go into, you want to see him share the screen with someone else from the MCU, is there a character that you'd love some more screen time with?
I mean, look, I've voiced this to Kevin. I've said, I was like, you know, to me, it would be Wakanda, obviously. I just think, you know, and also, obviously, I was lucky to have, you know, not enough time, but a decent amount of time with Chadwick, you know, in the Civil War. And that was some of my favorite experience that I had in the whole Marvel universe. I mean, watching, because, you know, he came in and he was so prepared and he was so in character the whole time, and the level of commitment and what he had done with that character, you know, it's like, it just completely elevated everything in a very different way than I think had happened before, you know, his entrance in the Civil War movie. And I had, you know, a very little scene with Ryan Coogler in Black Panther, and I had a great time working with him. You know, like, unbelievable energy, charisma, like full of joy, ideas, like just, you know, embracing of kind of like the experience. And I mean, you're like, if you're an actor and you're in the, you know, in the leader, you know, following the leadership of somebody who creates that environment, it's like you like score the lottery, because then you just feel kind of like you can do anything, you're okay. So for me, that would be my vote, especially how we left things off. I'm like, come on, like now you're putting Zemo over there. Give me a break. Like you're gonna need some help. I'm just saying, I'm here. So
well, there's
see.
Plenty of projects coming up that they may find a fit for, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things going on. It's hard to know. But on the other hand, it's like at the same time, like Anthony and I were talking about, we're like, man, we're not exactly young men anymore either. Things do hurt a lot more now than they did a few years ago. In some of those stunts. So it's a balance.
Yeah, I actually want to ask about that. So we all see the end product, right? These incredible action sequences, but how taxing are they really? Like, is there a sequence that you remember being incredibly difficult to shoot?
Oh yeah, I mean, they're all difficult. Like the whole process itself is very, there's a lot of stress, at least for me, because first of all, you got to go in there and you're learning a choreography. Like you're learning essentially a dance with other people, and it's very much a combined effort, and you've got to be you can't rush through that. So you have to have a lot of patience on how to do it. And then on the day, like your adrenaline's going to go really high anyway. So if you're not in control of those things, a lot of things can go wrong. That's how people get hurt. And yeah, sometimes, you're trying, like, your energy goes into it, and of course you're gonna land a hit, or you're gonna get hit, and it's not something that you necessarily you're expecting, but it may happen. And the thing is, your adrenaline is so high in the moment that you don't even really feel it. It's not until the next day when you come back, or when you wake up and you're like, oh God, I can't move. But I think there's I've always admired the dedication of the stunt teams, because I don't know, man, like there's a unity there, and there's a real camaraderie there in terms of like how they all psych themselves up. And when you are going into the thing and there's a countdown and it's going and you see everybody's like blood boiling, there's a moment where it's like, no, I haven't jumped out of an airplane, but I would imagine that's probably like the closest it is, just like where everybody's just at their 10,
Yeah. So we are about to end this segment before we go to some audience Q&A. But before we go,
cool.
Is there anything you want to share about upcoming projects, things people should be looking out for?
No, I don't have anything currently to, just excited that people are still, following these characters and wanting to know more, and we're just happy that we could get the show out, because it had been going for a while, and we were in the pandemic, and so it looks like people are excited about it, and who knows, maybe we'll get to do more because of it.
Yeah, well, thank you, Sebastian. I'm going to pass back to the ASPB students to do some Q&A.
Cool. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Adam. We really appreciate your moderating, but everyone, come on, can everyone give one more round of applause for Adam in the chat and his amazing moderating? But now we'll be moving on and begin with the student Q&A, which Lena can tell you a little bit more about.
All right, so we received a lot of questions from you all for Sebastian, and to get as many of them answered as fast as possible, we'll be splitting up the student Q&A section into two parts. We'll begin with our student speed run, which consists of questions that can be answered in just a few words, or yes or no questions, but at a rapid pace. And then we can move on to our traditional student Q&A, all while using the questions that you all, the students, provided for us today. So thank you, everyone. And without further ado, Andrew can get us started.
All right. So as Lena stated before, this will be a student speed run. So, are you ready, Sebastian?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
All right. So these questions will be answered in a few words. So we get through as many of these as possible. Then we'll move on to traditional Q&A. But to get started, the first question will be, what's one object you would take to a deserted island?
Not my phone. One object I would take to a deserted island. Jesus, that is... why these questions are always so difficult. I don't know. I take my Apple TV everywhere, so I mean, maybe my Apple TV. I guess that might keep me company.
Okay,
I'll take. Or I could say Anthony Mackie. I'll take Anthony Mackie.
Perfect answer.
Okay, next question.
The days will go by faster.
I bet. I'd want to take Anthony Mackie on a desert island with me too then. Okay. Next question. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
No, not for me. I've never done it. I couldn't. I know that's a thing, man. But yeah.
All right. Next question. Was the metal arm heavy to wear?
It was in the beginning. In the first movie, it was like the Winter Soldier movie. That was a big thing that actually was heavy and stuff. And then as we went, they got a little lighter. Or I got stronger.
Stronger for sure.
Do you prefer longer hair or shorter hair on Bucky?
Well, on Bucky, I thought you were talking about this. No, no, definitely shorter hair, for sure. Oh yeah.
Okay.
All right, question number 5. What is your current go-to song?
My current go-to song? I've been listening to a lot of Bad Bunny. But I'm all over the place, man. I mean, like, I don't know. I'm trying to pull up, see what songs I have in here. I have the recent song I was listening to is California Dreamin' by there we go. Oh, then Jose Feliciano. I don't know. I'm all over the place. I'll just go with that one. Otherwise, I will take too much time.
Okay, question number 6. What is your go-to coffee order?
It's always a pour over, and I just get a little oat milk in there.
Okay, I'm gonna have to try it today then.
Coffee.
Yeah, coffee is I'm a very big coffee person. Yeah, can't lie.
All right, coming in with question number 7. What's your favorite Marvel film?
My favorite Marvel film. I'm biased. I'm gonna say Captain America, the Winter Soldier. I really love. That movie to me was so great. And I gotta tell you, I actually really to me. I loved Avengers: Infinity War. I really liked that movie a lot. Yeah, maybe those two. Black Panther is another one that's really good. The first Iron Man is another one I really liked.
All good choices, honestly.
Yeah.
No,
Okay,
the Spider-Man ones are the absolute weakest, I think. They lack depth, and it's just like a real sort of half commitment performances in those films.
I think Anthony Mackie would agree with you.
I know he will.
Okay, next question. What is your biggest fear?
My biggest fear. My biggest fear. It is not living up to a certain potential, I guess. Like I as I've gotten older, I'm much more aware of time, and how precious time is, and we don't really think about time. Like time is going and it's ticking, and I want to get like wasting time, maybe. Like that's what I'd go with, you know. We waste a lot of time, you know, we waste a lot of time on this thing.
You're not wrong, honestly. Guilty of it here, but
yeah, I mean, or we can use it for like, or you can find ways to be like good with it, you know. But I guess that like, it just all goes by too fast, you know.
Now, students want to know, White Wolf or Winter Soldier?
I think it's time for a new identity, and it's gonna be White Wolf. It's not the Winter Soldier. Is done. He's done. It's over.
All right, next question. And this is an actual question, but I'm going to shoot my shot right here. Did it hurt when you fell from heaven?
Come on, who?
It wasn't
professor at this university is asking that question? Clearly, no. It doesn't. It hurts really badly when you fall from heaven and straight into hell. No. I didn't fall far. No.
Now, they also want to know, who's your favorite actor and actress that you've worked with?
Oh my God, it's like Nicole Kidman, I would say, definitely one of my all-time favorite experiences. Penelope Cruz was another one. Margot Robbie. Basically all the women that I got to work with. It's pretty good.
Good answer, though. I would agree. All right.
Yeah.
When will you go fishing with Anthony Mackie?
Will I?
Or when will you? If you
I
want
have to.
to.
I really have to. I don't know when, but I definitely will. I think we have to do it at some point. I just gotta go down there in New Orleans and just not even tell him I'm coming. You know?
That's a surprise.
Somebody's not. I'm telling you, it's like someone's not coming back on that boat. One of us. Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you've seen this franchise, but students want to know, what's your favorite Shrek movie?
Shrek movie? I have not seen one Shrek film. I have not seen
Sebastian.
one Harry Potter film. I have not seen one new Star Wars film outside of the main three. What else?
I highly recommend Shrek, though. Out of all of those that you just said, Shrek by far.
Shrek, yeah.
Make that your priority.
Okay, all right.
All right, we'll move on. So what is your best workout tip?
My best workout tip, don't obsess too much about how much you can do, or not. Just focus on like small goals. And it's just a cheesy saying, small goals, big gains, but it's true. If you're going to do 20 push-ups, okay, do 20 push-ups, and then the next day do 21, or maybe 25. Don't be so hard on yourself. It's all good.
No, that's some great advice. Small goals, big gains.
My God, everybody's going to the gym trying to turn it all around in 1 week, and it's no, that just doesn't work. Don't kill yourself,
Baby steps, yeah.
Now, if you were anywhere in the world included, where would be your dream place to live?
My dream place to live? I'm a city person, for me, it's always going to be New York, London, or I don't know. I really want to go to Tokyo. There's a lot of places I haven't been to, but I gravitate towards cities. So I guess New York is still pretty good.
No, I agree. Cities are usually between like the countryside and the cities. I prefer the cities too.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Who won that staring contest, Bucky or Falcon?
Of course, myself. Yeah, no, I felt like I needed to win that very badly, but I'm pretty sure I did.
Now, I know you talked about Star Wars earlier, and you haven't seen anything outside of the main three, which is the best three. But students want to know: would you take on the role of Luke Skywalker after the famous Mark Hamill?
I mean, if it was the right fit and it was the right story and I mean the right, I haven't quite followed recently what's been going on, in terms of like that character. But if it was the right fit, I would love to know more about it, and see. I think it's like such an iconic character, such an iconic experience that it would be hard to not obviously want to do that justice and do it as best as possible. But again, it's just something that's so I can't think about things that aren't real. Like if it actually became a real thing, a real question, then I would have to go, okay, like let me really. But up until then, it's all very speculative, and I'm always like, yeah, of course that would be interesting and crazy, What happened to Luke Skywalker after Return of the Jedi? Where did he go? What happened? I'm sure people on this chat know.
All right. We're almost done with this part. So next question. Are you afraid of roller coasters?
100%. Not for me. Not for me.
Good to know.
Same here, Sebastian. Same here. It's okay.
Same though. No, I agree. Me neither. Can't do it.
I don't know. I think maybe when I was younger, I saw that movie Final Destination or whatever.
Yeah.
That's literally the exact reason. Yeah.
Scarred me for life.
No.
But if you had an autobiography, what would it be called?
I tried my best. tried my best. It's like, is there such a thing as a perfect person? Absolutely not. It's just, you just do your best. You try your best.
Tell you what, that would be a pretty good book, though.
Yeah. All right. Last question of the speed run. If you weren't an actor, what would you be doing right now?
Oh, man. The one thing that comes to my mind right now when you're saying it's like, it would be amazing. Like, I think sometimes about those journalists or photographers, like, for the National Geographic or Time magazine or something, like that, get to travel the world and like go to massive, to cover events or life-changing, world-changing sort of events. And I just think, I'm like, God, that would be a pretty noble profession, to just be able to kind of go to the middle of a situation and like be thrust in and experience it and capture it and then share it. Like something about that is very inspiring and noble. So maybe maybe that would be something, I don't know how good I'd be, but it'd be great to witness. I think traveling is so important. If it's possible, if you have the chance to do it, have to keep seeing different things, and it can't just be on a computer screen, like we have to go to different cities and experience different cultures and people, and like it just makes your own experience at home so much more richer,
No, I definitely agree. That's a very good answer too. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. All right, so that concludes our student speed run. Thank you so much for playing, Sebastian. We appreciate it. Of course, the questions don't end there. We do have a lot more traditional student Q&As to answer. So to kick us off, we have one question from Alexandra Kane, who asks, What was your funniest moment that you had on set while filming The Devil All the Time?
They're asking this because obviously they know that they handed me a gun and said, chase Tom Holland, and I was like, this is the best experience of my life. There was a moment in that whole thing at the end where I'm like coming out, after him with the shotgun, where like something happened, and it didn't end up in the movie because it was just too silly and crazy. But in the moment, it was the greatest thing. Like at one point, he throws something and he makes a noise somewhere because he's trying to like deflect like where he's at. And I just like, when I heard the noise, I turned, I just shot the shotgun, and I just like fell backwards and did like a 360 tumble, and I came back up on my feet and was like, and it was one of those things where like, honestly, everybody looked like, oh my God, like that has to be in the movie because it just looks so, and I was like this bigger guy, and like it just like he just did this tumble. I came back, and the timing of it was perfect. Anyway, it didn't end up in the movie, but it was very fun at the time.
I remember that scene specifically. I wish I could have seen that scene though.
Yeah, it was very, very funny and weird.
Now, for our next question comes from John Bryan, and he asks, have you ever been told to change something about yourself? And if so, how did you deal with it?
Oh yeah, of course. I feel like I'm constantly being told to change something about myself. And it's just what happens when, people project things onto you, right? It's like they like throw these things at you, but it's really about them, actually. It has nothing to do with you. But anyway, like growing up, of course, I remember growing up, because I'm not from here. I'm from Romania and so on. For example, like when I was growing up for a little while, I was being told to not tell anybody where I was from, to pretend I was from America. I was born in America. I was like everybody else, or a certain way, And I had a moment where I felt kind of like scared to really embrace where I was coming from, and I only found that it didn't. I don't know. Like it felt like I I couldn't grow. I was always pretty small in my growth. So I felt actually that those very things, like once you embrace those things about yourself that someone is picking at, like it kind of sets you apart in a way, and might be something interesting, kind of like to explore. So that's why you have to be very careful who you're listening to, I think. Like you gotta like find your mentors and stuff, and hopefully you can surround yourself with people that want to support you, so you can have a strong background in who you are,
Good gym advice and good personal advice. I think you should get started on the autobiography, honestly, but
no.
But Lena can take it away with the next question.
All right, so the next question comes from Ilana Marie, who asks, what has been your favorite fight scene so far, and why?
My favorite fight scene so far? I mean, all the stuff that I got to do in the movies, like the Winter Soldier, the Civil War movies and stuff. Even in this in the show here, it was so cool. You're training with like real life, kind of technicians and fighters, and there's just something. There's a whole art to it and everything. So I would say I really loved the stuff I got to do in episode 3 for this last Falcon Winter Soldier, and also the fight that we had in episode 5. There was a lot of stuff that I got to do there. Was great. And I still love the sequences we had in the original first Winter Soldier movie.
That was my favorite.
Cool.
Our next question comes from Laura Anaya Morga. and she asks, what's the best piece of advice you have ever received, and how do you implement that into your everyday life?
The best piece of advice that I've always received is I was lucky to get a few, but I'll take this. There's one that comes recently from my friend Tone, who is somebody I work out with back in New York, and he said to me, he goes, "Hey, yo, Seb, you gotta do you, man. You know," he's like, "You do you, I do me, you do you. That's it. You know, you gotta do you." And I was like, "Yeah, you gotta just do you." You know, and not everyone's gonna dig that, and that's cool. And you know, maybe people will have opinions. People always have opinions, but at the end of the day, like, be yourself. Like, I think own your truth and do your thing. Like, follow your path. Your path is going to be very different than the people that, you know, you want to be like, or even like your mentors or your heroes, or, you know, they all have their own path. You talk about this, writing your biography and stuff. Like, I read a lot of, all my favorite actors growing up, like I would get their biographies and I would read because I want to know how they got to those places. And each person has a whole road of, you know, being told, like, being judged, being told all kinds of things. You can't do this or that. Even Steven Spielberg, right? Like, was constantly judged even after he had success when he was trying to do different movies and branch out. They were telling him, like, no, you're not, you can't, you should be doing this or that. So it's like, you know, just brush off the criticism and, you know, just do you and don't worry about anything else.
Great. All the more reason to write your own autobiography. There's so many.
Not there yet. I don't know.
All right. So next question comes from Sumant Dara. And I'll give you a bit of context in this question if you don't know what I'm talking about. But he asks, what are your thoughts on the Jujutsu Kaisen's shout out about you? I'm not sure if you've heard of that, but it is an anime. And they name drop you in one of the episodes. If you wouldn't mind, we have a clip ready to show you if you'd like to see it.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
There we go.
Ay, quítate tú. Ay.
Are you playing it right now or no?
Not yet.
Oh, okay, good. I was like,
No, don't.
I'm playing it, and I'm just not technology savvy enough to see.
While we get that situated, we can move on to our next question. But Tiffany Gomez wants to know, how do you foster self-belief and confidence? Oh, the video is up. Let's see if we can get it playing. Sorry about that.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
SEBASTIAN STAN って知ってる？いい
Can't
声
believe
でき
it's
るね。
this. That was it. That was my shout out.
Yeah, see?
No way.
How do you feel about that? I mean, like, now that because it's very, like, incredible to be so well known and popular that, like, an anime, you know, worldwide.
I want to find out more about it. I am very humbled. Thank you. I'll take it. You know, I'll take it. That's so cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course, yeah.
No.
Yeah, I guess it's to kind of bounce off of that question, like, how does it feel being so well known, even worldwide at this point, for like a Japanese anime, and just being in media so often and just being a household name, I guess? How has that changed your life?
You know, I don't honestly, I don't think about it at all that much because it just, for me, it's the journey is still going, I still feel like when I was in school, in the sense, like I'm still learning things. It's just not, I never get to a place where I'm like, I figured it out. I haven't figured out anything. Like I'm about to be 40 in 2 years, okay? And I'll tell you right now, I'm learning things now more than I learned when I was younger, and like it's just part of the deal. Like I wish there are kids out there, man, like young people out there, like who are so brilliant and like they have such capacity for learning and taking things and communicating, and they're so well spoken and outspoken, and it's amazing to see. I wasn't like that, unfortunately, as much when I was 21, 22. I was kind of like much more, kind of sheltered and, kind of scared and stuff. But like, I feel that, it makes me excited for people like that. Cause then I'm like, okay, what are they going to be like in like 10 years, 15 years? Cause life just makes you constantly ask questions. And, I don't really think of like, it's very sweet and very, like I said, it's really nice to see when you're working on something, you're working really hard, and when it resonates with people, it's a very gratifying feeling, and all it does is just makes you want to go back and go, okay, like let me try and but all of it is an experiment. Like I don't have any answer, I'm like, it's like I can't go in there every time. Even with acting, I'm like, I don't even know if what worked last time is going to work this time. I just have to sort of keep staying open to the process and just see what happens, and I think you were going to say something about self-belief. I mean, it's all in the same realm. Like it's like you just got to believe in, like, and trust like the journey of it all, and not like don't get hung up so much on expectations or don't be so result oriented all the time if possible.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's very good advice too, especially about fostering self-belief and confidence. Thank you. All right, we'll jump to the next question, which comes from Chriselle Lamas, who asks, what was the craziest fan interaction you've ever had?
You really want to know?
Yes.
I was at a Comic-Con one time where I don't know. I was at a Comic-Con when I think somebody had asked me to sign a piece of paper that said we had kids together or something, and I was like, I don't know if I can do that. But I'm very touched and humbled that you're looking that you're thinking of me. But it was a very very strange experience. That probably ranks up there at the very top. Yeah.
Interesting experience for sure. But we also have a question coming in from Eden Bazard that says, if you can do one thing that would change the world, what would you do?
Oh, man. I feel that we're too often hung up on stories that we hear growing up, about how we should be, about how we should do things as men, as women, in relationships, different like cultures. Like I would love to start at ground zero one day, where we just like don't have any preconceived stories or anything like growing up about anything, that we can just, it's like a child when they're born into the world, they just don't know anything. They're like excited at anything and everyone. All they know to do is just to like love. And we're all like that, and I feel like sometimes when you grow up and you just hear different things and, sometimes you're not, maybe you're not growing up in the best of environments, and it just, it would be amazing to maybe like, you know, I'm going to use Marvel as a reference, but, you know, the Thanos of it all, like, had an interesting idea, you know, this blip, like this snap of a finger to kind of like reset in a way. And I don't know, you know, it's like you can look at something. I always think about how you can look at something like at a glass half full or a glass half empty. You always can. Every day you can go and see the negative, or you can try and go and see the positive. It's an effort, because there's a lot of negative constantly thrown at us left and right. This is happening. This is not right. This is the thing. By the way, that again. But I'm always trying to look at the positive. And so if there's, and you know, looking at this past year and COVID and everything the world has experienced, like I'm trying to look at this, the positive perspective, in the sense that maybe it gave us everybody sort of just a big time out to be like, okay, time out. Fucking take a seat on the couch and start to like think about a little bit, what have you been doing in this life so far? How are you interacting with people? Your family, who are your friends? What do you want? Because you had all these things that you could do, and you know what? Maybe you took things for granted, and now going forward, maybe you won't take these things for granted. Maybe there's a way to reset and go forward from this in a better way, and that's what I'm hoping. We're going to come out of this past year with, like a reset button, and then we can all have a new beginning at something, And I think that's happening. I feel like that's happening. So I guess that maybe, I don't know. It's a long answer. Saturdays are really tough to have.
No, I think that was honestly beautifully said, Sebastian. I honestly couldn't agree more.
Anyway, yeah, it's like we got to be positive. We got to stay positive out there.
Yeah, definitely all that attitude. Very insightful, yeah. All right, so we have time for about just 2 more questions. So the next one comes from Cheyenne, user ShyXO, and she asks, across your acting career, which role do you think has fulfilled you the most?
Oh man, all of them have in their own respects, in their own different ways, I think, look, this role particularly for me is crazy. 10 years of my life playing this character has been very interesting, and it's very weird to think of anything of it ever coming to an end and how that will be. And it's like there's no way you'll ever be fully satisfied, I feel like, in the end with it. But every role, I think, I don't have any regrets about sort of any of the roles. Some resonated more, others didn't. Some I tried to kind of learn more about myself or life with and whatever. So it's like they're all kind of in the same boat. But obviously this one, because I played him for 10 years, is always going to be a soft part of my heart.
Definitely.
I really have appreciated all your questions, but we just have one more to end this with.
Okay.
And this one is coming in from Paulette Ruby, and this one says, what are your thoughts on Tom Holland?
It's really unfortunate to see such a young man with tremendous potential just ruin it consistently. And especially now that he's gained his muscle. I mean, these recent Instagram pictures, I believe that's what they are called. They're called thirst pics. It's very disappointing because it's so selfish and self-generated, but it's, you hope for the best. People do have comebacks. People do turn around, and let's hope that narcissism doesn't continue for Tom.
I think with you as a mentor, I think his comeback is on the way.
By the way, sometimes I'm like saying things about Tom Holland. I'm like, I've really gone very far there. I'm like, no. I'm like, Now I'm like creating a whole like narcissism complex. Tom Holland is absolutely one of the sweetest, most generous people I've ever met. I just think it's like the joke that never ends. You know, you just have to keep cranking it. And I'm sure he's taking swings at Anthony and I plenty, so.
It's all good fun, all good fun.
All in good fun, yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you so much for answering our questions, Seb.
Thank you.
Immensely appreciate it. And thank you all so much for your questions. Can we get just one more huge thank you in the chat for Sebastian Stan?
No, I appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you once again for joining us. We appreciate the time that you're coming on a Saturday.
That's all good.
UCR really appreciates it.
Thanks for calling me. I don't know. It's nice to connect and touch base with, people out there and see how everyone's doing. And I don't know. I hope you guys have an amazing summer and, when you go back to, I guess, college, right? Like, I hope it's fun. I don't know. I miss it a lot sometimes. It's such a good time. It was so great. I wish I could go to a party.
You're invited to the UCR if you want. The invites are open.
If I'm ever through there, I'll definitely call.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sebastian. I know all of us here are going to be rooting for you and your future endeavors. I know we're looking forward to Pam and Tommy coming on Hulu, so I'll definitely catch you there next. And wherever adventure we see Bucky in next. But
I appreciate it, man. Thank you guys so much. All right, have a great weekend and all the best. Stay safe.
You too. Thank you so much.
I'll see you. Bye.
On behalf of ASPB, we wanted to thank you all for coming out to our final virtual lecture of this year. We had a great time today, and we hope you did too. However, don't forget to follow us on our Twitter at UCR_ASPB, our Instagram ASPB_UCR, and TikTok